New Jersey reserves. The gentleman from Ohio is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. At this time, I yield 2 minutes to the gentleman from Massachusetts 4th District.
Gentleman from Massachusetts is recognized for 2 minutes.
Housing affordability is the #1 issue in the United States economy right now. And manufactured housing is part of the solution. It is housing in the range of $100,000 to $200,000. And new manufactured homes are HUD Energy Code compliant and are meeting even some of them are meeting Energy Star certification standards. But we have a challenge. In 2022, under the Biden administration, with Department of Energy and the Housing and Urban Development Department sharing enforcement authority for energy efficiency standards for manufactured housing, the Department of Energy put forward energy efficiency standards that the Biden-era HUD said they could not enforce. I just want to reiterate that for my Democratic colleagues. The Biden-era HUD said they could not enforce because of what they would do to housing affordability with manufactured housing. It was projected that at least 25,000 fewer homes would be constructed over the next 10 years. And one Biden-era Office of Management and Budget official said they could add $5,000 to $10,000 of additional cost per key for a manufactured housing, all to save what could be a teaspoon of greenhouse gas emissions, about what one Ford F-150 would emit on one visit to a construction work site. This is not a workable scenario, because when you have shared enforcement between two agencies and they disagree, nothing happens. So what this bill does is it puts accountability for housing affordability with the Department of Housing. Now, the Department of Housing still needs to incorporate the expertise of the Department of Energy. And I want to be clear about this. This does not necessarily lower energy efficiency standards. In fact, HUD could very well decide that they want to raise energy efficiency standards, but they're going to make that decision holistically. They're going to look at the cost. Could I get one more?
I yield the gentleman another minute.
Yes, the gentleman is recognized for another minute.
They're going to look at the total cost of ownership, including the initial purchase price, plus the cost of utilities over the long-term usage, understanding that many purchasers of manufactured housing don't live in there for the 30 years that the Department of Energy was using to amortize the energy costs. This bill streamlines bureaucracy, it clarifies accountability, it does not lower energy efficiency standards, but it does lower prices. This is why the National Housing Conference, which is a continuum of affordable housing stakeholders, have endorsed this legislation, and I encourage my Democratic.
During debate on the House floor, the gentleman from Ohio yielded time to a lawmaker from Massachusetts 4th District to address housing affordability and manufactured housing policy. The Massachusetts representative opened by stressing that housing affordability is currently one of the most pressing economic issues in the United States. He argued that manufactured housing plays a critical role in addressing the crisis, noting that these homes typically cost between $100,000 and $200,000 and meet modern HUD Energy Code requirements. Some even qualify for Energy Star certification. However, he pointed to a major regulatory challenge that emerged in 2022 under the Biden administration. At that time, enforcement authority over energy efficiency standards for manufactured housing was split between the Department of Energy and the Department of Housing and Urban Development. According to the lawmaker, the Department of Energy proposed new efficiency standards that HUD ultimately said it could not enforce, citing concerns over housing affordability. He emphasized that HUD itself warned the proposed rules would make manufactured homes more expensive, potentially resulting in at least 25,000 fewer homes being built over the next decade. An official from the Biden-era Office of Management and Budget reportedly estimated the rules could add between $5,000 and $10,000 to the cost of each manufactured home. The speaker argued that these added costs would achieve only minimal environmental benefits, comparing the emission savings to what a pickup truck might produce during a single trip to a construction site. The congressman explained that when two federal agencies share enforcement authority but disagree, progress stalls and nothing gets done. The bill under consideration, he said, resolves that issue by placing clear accountability with the Department of Housing, while still requiring HUD to consult with the Department of Energy's expertise. He clarified that the legislation does not automatically lower energy efficiency standards. HUD could choose to raise standards if it determines doing so makes sense. The difference, he said, is that HUD would consider the full picture, including upfront home prices and long-term utility costs, rather than relying on long-term assumptions that may not reflect how long many manufactured home buyers actually live in their homes. The bill, he concluded, streamlines bureaucracy, clarifies responsibility, and reduces housing costs without sacrificing efficiency. He noted that the National Housing Conference, a broad coalition of affordable housing stakeholders, has endorsed the legislation and urged lawmakers on both sides of the aisle to support it. The gentleman then yielded back his time.